Hi guys, in order to prepare to start doing the roller coaster project, what you're going to want to do is do some individual brainstorming. This is before we get together in our groups. You're going to be trying to figure out on your own what are some ideas that you personally have for what you would like your actual roller coaster to look like when you finally get to designing it. So the first step would be to review the project pages that were included in the assignment. So take a look at them. There's a lot of information there. Start by reading the Mrs. Thrilla page, the page that tells you what Mrs. Thrilla, who's the person who's asking you to design a coaster, look to see what does she want, right? And she asks for certain things from the roller coaster. So make sure you understand what it is that you're being asked to build, because it's not just any old roller coaster. There's certain specific things that you have to watch out for. And you also want to look at the other pages and see that part of what you're going to have to do here is stay within a budget. So you're going to have to keep track on a balance sheet of the items that you've purchased, how much they cost, and so on. And there's a materials list that tells you how much different things cost and also gives you some ideas for how you could earn more money. You start out with $90. It's fake money, not real money, so don't get too excited. And then you'll also see that there is an explanation of the what's going to be graded, and it's broken down into two parts. There's sort of 20 points that goes towards the actual coaster working correctly, and you're going to demonstrate that at the end. And then there's 80 points of the project which goes into presenting your work, and so that's going to take a long time for you to put that together, and we'll work on that after you get your actual coaster done. So then the final page is the rubric, which sort of explains how you're going to be graded. So you want to look over all of that stuff very carefully and start thinking about, okay, what is it that I'm going to have to do? That's step one. Step two is to look at this website and just sort of go through the design process. And this is a very basic coaster design program. It's nothing fancy. We'll use fancier ones when I get back. Just play around with it and it'll show you what will happen if you try different things. And that way you can kind of get a picture in your mind of the sorts of things that work versus the sorts of things that don't work. And it will tell you why this worked or why it didn't work and stuff like that. So it'll kind of get you started. And then once you've played around with this site for a little while, it's time to actually sketch some coasters. And what I want is each one of you to come on Monday, each individual to come on Monday with three well-planned sketches of roller coasters that you would like your group to consider as possible sketches for the basis of your coaster design. These can't just be, sloppy little sketches. These have to be serious, well-planned sketches. They're diagrams that actually show how you would build the coaster. So they have to be fairly detailed. They need to be done on graph paper, and you need to have some kind of scale. What I recommend is that you make each square on your graph paper equal to 1 decimeter of space. And the reason I would recommend that scale for your drawings is because one of the criteria you have is that you have to have a maximum of 72 decimeters of track. So this will sort of help you keep track of, well, how much track am I using? And it'll also help you figure out how tall different elements of your coaster are and how wide they are. So after you've played around with the other website, you'll have some idea of basically what you want to put into your coaster. So let's say that you've decided after playing with that website that you want your first hill to look something like this, and you want it to come down, and your second hill to look something like this, and then you want a really cool big loop, and then you're going to end with a straightaway. Let's say that that's your design. Well, what you have to think about is how tall do you want everything to be in relationship to everything else? And when you sketch this out, how much track is that actually? Well, one way to measure how much track you've used would be to take a piece of string and just lay the string over the top of your drawing. And then when you straighten your string out, after you've measured this, you can straighten the string back out and see how long the string is, how many boxes long it is. And as long as you don't go over 72 boxes, you're going to be okay, because each box is 1 decimeter. So that's one way to tell how much track you're using up. So you need to plan it out, and then when you sketch it like this, what I want you to do is to actually draw in the measurements for each of your different elements. So after you have it drawn, you'll say, okay, so here's my first hill, so how tall is that? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 decimeters tall, so you can just 8 dm like that for decimeters. And then this would be, looks like to me, maybe 4 decimeters tall for this hill. And how wide is this loop this way, and how wide and how tall is it this way? You want to label all of those things, and you want to make sure that your sketch is really clear so that you can show it to other people in your group and say, okay, here's my idea and here's how we would actually build it. And I will look at these, and they will be part of what I look at to see whether or not you're entitled to earn money for materials that you want to use to build the real coaster. So each one of these little assignments that I give you on a day-to-day basis really, really matters. And you have a whole weekend to think about this, and most of you will have much of the day on Friday to work on this stuff, because I'm hoping that a lot of you are done already with your kinetic and potential energy lab. Okay, so just to recap, you're going to review the project materials, then you're going to look at the website that I gave you, and then you're going to actually sketch out 3 drawings, which you're going to bring with you on Monday and be ready to show to me so that I can determine whether or not you have earned the right to some actual money to add to your coaster project balance sheet. Okay guys, so I will see you when I get back from Boston. Good luck designing your coasters, have fun, and make sure you keep it neat and organized.